Well, hello everyone. I'm Alex's little brother, as you can see. Nice and clean shaven. I messed up my beard trim, sorry. It is really me. Alright, it's Ope. It's Alex. Alright, don't get it confused. Still with me? Wonderful. I messed up my beard trim so bad that my brother-in-law was making fun of me, so I said fuck it and just bzzz. There goes the demonetization. Right there at the F bomb. Good. Fuck YouTube. I wish there was something else to do this on that was just as popular. Well, guys, I'm coming to give you the highlights for the patch 6.4 that's going to be coming out. I'm very sorry I haven't been putting up content these last couple days. I'm not going to lie to you, I just don't give a shit. Like I said, Raid's really pissed in my Cheerios, so I just kind of don't care. And I'm sorry if I sound nasally still. I still think I'm getting over something. But with all that out of the way, we will have Raid's 4-year anniversary, which is actually a pretty big milestone for a gacha game. A mobile game, period. But Summoner's War, I think, is on 9 or 10 years now. Something crazy. And Raid's just babying up to 4, which is what it is. Hopefully they've learned a lot. We'll see with these events. They're going to be starting off with this 4th anniversary Titan event. Okay. So essentially what's going to be going on is they are going to have kind of like a hero's path, tournaments, and other events. And you doing stuff you generally do in the game is going to get you anniversary points, and you can then trade these points into the Titan event interface, kind of like our clan shop, and you're going to be able to buy stuff. That's essentially what it is. And the rewards include stuff like random chests, which they're going to discuss down below. But there's different levels to these chests, going from bronze to diamonds. And you can get things in them like legendary champion fragments, and stuff like that, books, things of that nature. You can even get new player avatars from the shop, and and resources that we'll need for Champion Awakening, which we all know is just going to be the currency, I assume. They said it's going to be fairly straightforward, and they'll add a dedicated Titan event guide in the info tab when the first event goes live. So cool. Random chest, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond. Naturally, random chest of higher tiers will provide greater rewards. Everything else is simple. You win the chest, open it, and claim your prize. The chest itself will contain an item or resource randomly chosen from the predetermined reward pool. Random chest comes in 5 tiers. So this kind of sounds like the same thing that we get from Clan Boss and Hydra. It's randomly chosen from that pool of rewards. Damn. Sorry. There's also going to be a Plarium Points program. It's going to be more favorable, it seems, to Plarium Play, but it also will be for mobile users. It's going to be this new kind of currency that they're pushing out. This looks a lot like what Infinite Magic Raid are doing. If you play on their app and you go to buy stuff, you have to buy their currency at a certain dollar amount, and then essentially it's like you're going to another country and you're converting your currency to their tender. So that's what that is. Play and Play Points program, you'll just have to open the menu on the left-hand side of your Bastion screen and tap the icon. That will take you to a new tab where all of your hard-earned Plarium points unlock various goodies. First, you'll see special cards, the most important rewards of Plarium Play Points program. These include powerful champion artifacts, accessories most suitable for them, and resources to awaken that champion. On top of that, you can get a unique avatar, legendary champion fragments, right here. Sorry, so I screwed that up. It's actually from the Plarium Points program, not from the chests. Apologies. And then split souls and an extra artifact or accessories. Furthermore, a progress bar with multiple reward slots will be active and will yield additional rewards as you earn Plarium Points. Again, we'll add comprehensive guide to the info tab, blah, 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 blah. This sounds like the more you spend, the more points you're going to get. That's really what it sounds like. And they're going to really nickel and dime you on what points you can get doing stuff in-game. And quality of life adjustments is actually, other than the rebalances, this is actually the biggest part of this whole announcement. There's 2 major quality of life changes. First, you'll be able to shuffle your tag arena directly on the tag team arena battle selection screen instead of going in and like doing one of them one at a time. This will be a lot faster than having to manually swap each champion out. Sounds great. That's a big thing. Secondarily, you'll get to end an ongoing multi-battle right in the middle of it. There will be two options to do so. You can end current battle, which just stops the battle immediately, and then stop multi-battle, which will let your champion finish the battle but stop the current multi-battle sequence after that. I don't know why Raid hasn't done this. All the other, hasn't done this sooner. All the other gacha games have done this already. Summoners War had it for years. Infinite Magic Raid has had it, and they're brand fucking new. Dislight has it. They're brand fucking new. Whatever. Let's talk about the rebalances. So Killian the Lucky is getting a very good buff. He's actually going to be viable. He's probably going to be something people might want. And it's because of this. So this is his A2, Inflict Misfortune. Now before it was attack one enemy with 100% chance when booked of placing block active skills. Also has a 70 or 35% chance, 50% chance when booked, placing block active skills on all other enemies for a turn. Garbage, right? It's a shit skill. It's going to get changed to attacks all enemies and has a, when booked, 100% chance of placing block active skills for 2 turns. That's pretty good. And then damage multiplier will be decreased for this. And that's normal to see when a single target ability gets moved to an AoE ability. They're going to decrease the multiplier. You know, you don't want guys coming out of the ring that didn't hit hard AoE before and then they're slapping the shit out of people. It looks more like Killian the Lucky is going to be like a utility champ. And that's a 5-turn book to a 4-turn cooldown. Pretty good. His Headringer, he'll attack an enemy, this is before, has a 75% chance, 100, of placing stun for 1 turn, and then has a 50% chance of placing the stun debuff for 2 turns instead and stealing 50% of the target's turn meter. Resets the cooldowns of this skill if the target is killed, 5-turn cooldown, blah blah bullshit. Okay? Used to be booked to a 3-turn. This Headringer is garbage before, now it's actually something. Attacks an enemy, booked to 100% chance of placing stun debuff for 2 turns, so you get an extra turn of stun, stealing their turn meter no matter what, 50% of it, and then resets the cooldown of this skill if the target is killed. And also, it still had a 3-turn cooldown when booked. Pretty good. Charmed Life. Now, if you knew about this, he would place buffs on himself for 2 turns at the start of each turn, and it would be 1 at a time. They're changing it to he will place 2 of the buffs for 2 turns at the start of each turn, and it's increase attack, increase crit damage, increase crit rate, strengthen, block damage, and increase accuracy. That's a buff too. Okay, now we're going to go down to Tila, who arguably is one of the worst champions in the game. These 3 are actually the worst champions in the game, but now they're not. They're being brought up from the sludge of the bottom of the barrel in the trash can to kind of shine. Now, if I had a Tila, I probably wouldn't use her still. If I had a Killian, I wouldn't use him because I really only use him for Faction Wars, and my Faction Wars teams are pretty set in that faction. But we'll go down to Vergamkar in a second, but Vergamkar, he's going to start seeing some play, I think. So, I'm just going to tell you what Tila's ability does now. Well, let's say what it does before. It would attack an enemy and place an HP burn for 2 turns. And also places a continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. And now it attacks all enemies. So her single target HP burn has now turned into an AoE HP burn for 2 turns. Also places continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. And the damage multiplier will be decreased. But like I said, when you go from single target to AoE, the multiplier is going to be decreased for that reason. This is all great. And it's booked up to 100% chance of happening. Before, it was guaranteed that she'd put that HP burn on there. You just need enough accuracy. But now with the changes, instead of redoing this damage here, they're doing buff, debuff, chance increase. So her book value goes up. Okay? And then Life Worm, she would attack all enemies and would book to 100% chance of placing Leech and Heal Reduction debuff for 2 turns. So that was actually... She saw a niche play in Hydra and... Frost Spider for this because she would place Leech and Heal Reduction. And it would book to a 4-turn cooldown. But now it's going to be attacks all enemies, books to 100% chance still of place of increasing the duration of all HP burn debuffs on all enemies by a turn. That's pretty great. I can only think of a couple champions that increase debuff duration. And this is actually a pretty big and important one. And then also has an 85% chance of placing, but 100% when booked, of Leech debuff, and now Hex instead of heal reduction. I guess we'll see how that plays out. They're really, like everybody's been saying for years, they're trying to push this Hex meta. There's very few champions that really work with Hex, and she's one of them. So, well, I shouldn't say she's one of, we don't know yet, but she might be one of them with increasing HP burn duration by a turn, and then, placing Legion Hex. So we'll see. And now Vergamkar, the Sausage Man, the Lizard Boy. He was a support. Content creators, there's a lot of, pardon me, there's a lot of controversy around this guy. Believe it or not, the community was not happy with the content creators because they were saying that he was going to be a needed fusion that you were going to have to do for Doom Tower. And that was not the case at all because of Scarab Boss, because at the time the Scarab Boss was the scariest Doom Tower. They were all actually pretty scary, but the Scarab Boss was like just a bitch to deal with. And this is when shield accessories were not in high circulation, because we haven't done a lot of CVCs at the time. I don't know if we did any. And people were pretty pissed because they got this fucking sausage lizard and he didn't do jack shit. Like, he was meh at best. And fucking awful in reality. But now that's kind of changed. So in the beginning, he would remove all provoke debuffs and one random debuff from all allies and give them increased defense for 2 turns on allies who have debuffs removed. Okay, so that wasn't everybody. It was just chosen few. And he would also place a shield on them to 20% of his max HP. And it would book to a 3-turn cooldown. Now, the cooldown's pretty good. And, the shield's really good. But now look at this. He removes all provoke debuffs and one random debuff from all allies. And then just doesn't matter. He places increased defense on allies for 2 turns. That's really good. No situational thing there. And he also places a shield on them for two turns to 20% of his max HP. Still 4-turn, books to a 3-turn cooldown. Great. That's all they did. They just literally changed that everybody will now get the increased defense. That's actually a pretty decent buff for him. Now here's a real fun one. Before, his Crushing Trample attacks all enemies, removes 1 random buff from each enemy, has books to just 75% chance of removing 2 random buffs from each enemy. So still garbage, because if you're legendary, you shouldn't have to have this 75% chance of doing things, even if you're booked, right? It should be 100% chance. You're a legendary. You spent the time. You went to legendary college. You went to LIT, right? So that is what it is. So always should be 100% chance for legendaries to do shit, with books at least. But then he'd give them heal reduction debuff for 3 turns on enemies who have 1 or more buffs removed. He'll also place decreased defense for 2 turns on enemies who have 2 buffs removed. So it's all situational and it's all fucking poo-poo garbage, right? Now let's look at the buff. He'll attack everyone, removes a random buff from each enemy, books to a 100% chance of removing 2 buffs from each enemy. Also has a 100% chance of placing heal reduction and decreased defense, big boy, for 2 turns, right? Now, who can you think of in the Lizard Man faction that actually places decreased defense on their abilities 100% of the time? You have 2. You have Draco, right? Fushan, kind of, if there's only 1 enemy, I guess. But then Krisk. Now we have this guy that was a fusion, you got him in a shard, and you're like, fuck, dude, there goes my mercy. But now he's actually worth something. He can actually place decreased defense. This book's to a 3-turn cooldown, by the way. That's pretty fucking great. It's a strip, and he gives them shitty gifts in return. He gives them heal reduction and decreased defense. That's pretty good. All right? And that looks to be it for the buffs, guys. And yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know how to end this one. Let's see how my clan boss is done. So yeah, hopefully you guys are doing good in your clan versus clans right now. I encourage everybody to push hard if that's the prerogative of the clan, but don't waste resources on a clan that doesn't give a shit to do anything. You know what I mean? That's gonna be it for me, guys. Hope signing off. God bless. Love you. Goodbye.